This is from Making Finance Work for Africa. Today's webinar on enhancing access to index-based insurance and marketing approach in Burkina Faso. I am the research and knowledge manager for Making Finance Work for Africa. Before I started, I would like to go over a few items, including the structure of this webinar, as well as important instructions on to participate in this event. It will last maximum of 25 minutes. Q&A. For first, requested to mute. Can be raised. Questions can be submitted one of the two panels on the chat or Q&A tab, or you can simply click on the hand icon. Remember to lower hands and mute your microphone after your questions, and also feel free to send a message to the users for issues. Important note is, if you feel more comfortable speaking French, please ask a question in French. We will answer your question in French. En fait, n'hésitez pas à poser vos questions en français et nous y répondrons en français. Finally, slides and a recording of this presentation available after we conclude. Both Finance Work for Africa and IPA's websites. So, please to fill out the survey automatically after the session. And this is our housekeeping. Well, we have climate change and erratic weather threat rural African populations, who, as we also all know, rely in majority on agriculture for food security and for their livelihood. But the traditional cost-based insurance is not viable for remote smallholders, and index-based insurance now a new science-based solution that arises and could provide a sort of safety net for farmers. Be the design and the payout structure of index-based insurance, one of the numerous challenges that we overcome for insurance products to thrive in Africa is affordability and action. In index-based insurance, the question now at stake is, how can this insurance become mainstream in Africa? Farmers who struggle already to feed their families are willing to buy insurance, and if not, are there any viable options? Research from Kent University, Oklahoma State, two important questions: the support of innovation for poverty action, plus guarantee, and international for action. Arun Kazianga will their findings during today's webinar. The researchers are joined by Sago Dioru, Estelle Plath, both from IPA. They will unveil during this webinar key takeaways from a study in Ghana. Weber, and Partnership Director with Planet Guarantee, completes the panel for this webinar. Bastien will provide a quick overview of agricultural insurance in Burkina Faso. Before getting to answer this presentation, I would like to give you, in just 2 minutes, a quick view of Making Finance Africa, a G8 initiative launched in October 2007. And our mission is to establish a common platform to harmonize, but also facilitate development and knowledge sharing in Africa. We work on 3 interlinked strategic pillars. The first one is financial inclusion. The second one, long-term finance. And third, sustainability and regulation, with research and knowledge management as a cross pillar. The partnership Making Finance Work for Africa brings together donor partners and governments, the private sector, and other financial sector stakeholders. Our founding members are the African Development Bank, European Investment Bank, and Mimbuza, the Dutch Ministry of Finance. You send your question at any time during this presentation, and after the panelists discuss, we'll take all questions then during the Q&A session. So here's other highlights, key findings from study on in Ghana.
Astius Agudebo, and work as Policy and Project Development Coordinator for Innovations for Poverty Action in West Africa. So first of all, I want to thank Making Finance Work for Africa for organizing this webinar and get the opportunity to share with you on this exciting project. So we understand the hypothesis behind our project in Burkina Faso. Our research, which was conducted in 2010, aimed to understand the constraints in agricultural investment. In Ghana, the agriculture is primarily rain-fed, which means farmers depend on the weather for their livelihood. Agriculture is highly variable. This increases risk for farmers, which can their welfare significantly. Further, also know that investment in new agricultural technologies may increase yields and profits. Next slide. Is that there is a lack of investment in agricultural inputs, such as fertilizer, acids, or labor. But the question is, why is it so? Is it a lack of credit, meaning that farmers simply do not have enough cash in hand to invest in agricultural inputs, or is it an aversion to the risk of a crop failure, which then receive even less than if they are not invested? In order to do this, we provided a group of households with weather insurance, a group with a cash subsidy to invest in agricultural inputs. Today we could compare which of having cash being financially protected against risk with agricultural investment the most, if at all. The group with neither insurance nor subsidy to serve as a comparison group. And the result that we found is that farmers with a weather insurance increase their agricultural investment by 33%. Next slide. Findings of this study. First, risk more of a constraint on agricultural investment than lack of capital. Indeed, if the primary constraint on investment was the lack of capital, then the insurance products with no upfront payouts will not have affected their ability to purchase materials. farm living and insurance increase their expenditure on farm chemicals, getting more acres of land, and were more likely to purchase insurance in subsequent years, even with a token price. Farmers who were familiar with other farmers who had received insurance payouts in previous years were simply more likely to take up insurance themselves. Next slide. Now that insurance has more impact on agricultural input adoption than subsidies, we need innovative ways of enhancing adoption of such insurances. This has, together with the researchers, Haruna Kadianga, Zakiwaj, the guarantee and the support of 3IE, we designed and implemented and brought the research in 2017 and are now moving towards a full-scale study later this year. I want to thank you all for participating to this webinar, and feel free to reach out by email for more on this project as our organization, or to go and look at our website, poverty.org.
Thank you, Arthur, for sharing the highlights of this study in Ghana. What policy lesson learned from your presentation is that insurance can improve the livelihood of farmers, its methods, and design and marketing of insurance products are needed for greater uptake. We have one question from Romain Kensack. I'll answer this question at the end of the presentations. Now, Sebastian Webb is the Consulting and Partnership Director for Price Guarantee, and his firm markets independent insurance products. Sebastian will tell us more about the African insurance market with specifics from Burkina Faso.
So, thank you for allowing me to participate in this webinar, as well as, of course, as the project partners. So, I'm here for Planet Guarantee, and as a partner in charge of microinsurance product management and product design. So, as you can see in the screen, we need 4 different components to implement microinsurance, and especially crop insurance. The first concerns the design of the product, to choose and calibrate the good technical solution to catch the risk. Then work is needed on the field for awareness raising of farmers and trainings of delivery channels. The distribution phase is crucial in order to optimize distribution, and at least the policy management allow to provide a very good quality of service for the insurance farmers. So we have 4 components of work, of concrete work, to implement this kind of product. So we are doing climatic insurance in a context of rainfall agriculture, and especially in a context of climate change. Of course, the risk is that climate change is increasing the frequency, also the intensity of certain extreme weather events. The lack of water, the excess of water for sub-Saharan Africa. So based on this, first needs risk management tools, and they don't currently have access to these tools. That's where crop insurance were developed in sub-Saharan Africa. While we can use index-based insurance more than traditional insurance, of course, to make insurance affordable, and please, you can go to the next slide. The idea is, of course, to make insurance affordable and viable for all the farmers. So, you know, farming in Burkina Faso is composed with a lot of pure and small size of production size. So that's where index insurance allow to reduce the cost of providing insurance by using index and direct relation between an insurance company and the farmers. That the indemnity system is quite different. It's not a direct discussion between insurance and farmers, but it's more a trigger level which is defined in order to evaluate the risk and its potential claims. These types of index have been developed in the area, but also all over the world. You know about average yield index. Today we are speaking about climate index. And in climate index, you will find many kinds of index. For West African and especially for sub-Saharan area, we are working on drought, lack of water, insurance products. The sources are crucial and also offer different possibilities. From field weather station with National Meteorological Institute, that's what we do in Senegal, but also for larger territory to insure, we use satellite information, as is the case in Burkina Faso. So, I say is today the agricultural financing, but also the agricultural risk management was focused on the post-production risk and financing, and our objective was to promote and to develop the production, investment, and insurance. There, the risk is higher for the farmers. Next slide. We stand in West Africa concerning this program. We are running the program in 4 countries: Senegal, Mali, Burkina.
We lost Sebastian. We're going to
for your product. So here you can see on the left of your screen the claim ratio of the program. So you can see perhaps a claims ratio not far from 50%, which is a small solution in the insurance sector for CIMA area. To have a small focus in Burkina, 30,000 people were insured during the last year, especially for cereals, what we are talking today, but also for cotton. The risk taker is Alliance Burkina Faso, supported by Reinsurance Consortium, led with Alliance Re and including Africa Re and Tika Re. Okay, be very fast, just to mention what characteristics of the product we are proposing to the farmer. So it's a satellite-based insurance solution based on relative evapotranspiration. It's a range of 100 days, and 6 different areas have been defined in order to propose different level of price tailored to the different level of risk in Burkina Faso. The country, in fact, 4,800 villages are today possible to cover with a spatial resolution of 3 kilometers under 3 kilometers. The provider is Earth Environment Monitoring System. Next. Okay, today about the way to market and the way to deliver insurance to the farmers. So the left side of the screen, you will see the model. What is the comportment of insured farmers against non-insured farmers? And you see 2 effects. The first one is to decrease, of course, the decrease of revenue in case of extra climatic event. And the second effect will be to renew faster your capacity of investment. Our profitable at different levels of the value chain. We are focusing today on farmers, so you will individual distribution. You will find, of course, a huge role of rural organization, cooperative and other kind of organization. And we are speaking today about third-party subscription. How a brand can subscribe insurance at benefit of its relative in a rural area. The other marketing methodology or strategy we are using, presented below, we are distributing with banks, input provider, agribusiness, and you will find, in fact, the whole component of the value chain possible to involve in this mechanism. Next. Is a resume of the pilot. We had the chance to participate last year with the different partners. The question was, can for weather index insurance and coverage of rural farmers be increased by offering it to their urban migrant relatives? So for us, Planet Guarantee, it means a new area of intervention. It means a very short timeline because we had not so more 2 weeks to do this program. So it was a small program based on 124 urban migrants identified by the study. On this sample, a little bit more than 100 positively involved in the different activities, focus group and interviews, and the products were presented and discussed with them. The result was 35 subscription visits. We had the chance to go at home or at work of the migrants in order to proceed to the subscription. Of results, it's 29 subscriptions. So we consider more the uptake here, which is 23%, which is not a bad result compared to the other. It's even a very good result. So the capital insured was a little bit more than 1,000 euros per farmer. And we had, unfortunately, or fortunately, of course, from farmers' point of view, no claims on this village last year. Compared with the global situation in Burkina, where the claims ratio was 62%. This area were more affected by last year. In learnings, we can perhaps highlight 3 things. First one is with a chance to prove a significant demand for rainfall insurance from the migrants having relative in rural area. It was a question, and the answer from this study is a yes. The second thing is that marketing and subscription process were optimized. It has a gain in terms of timeline and cost comparative to what we are using to do this delivery channel. And to finish, perhaps we can highlight a relatively small level of coverage, asking about the condition of migrants and their capacity to provide an interesting level of coverage to their relatives in rural area. Next slide. We will find the way forward, the opportunity, and the constraints we find on this study. First, I was speaking about the migrant condition. Immigrants themselves able to provide a good coverage for their urban relatives is a central question. And then we have a lot of opportunities also with the action process, allow to improve the product and the process, but also the mobile distribution will be needed to address the retail mechanism, and also the opportunity to include the international diaspora in this kind of mechanism. Thank you. It was a little bit long, but that was the different element we would like to share. I have to mention that I'm speaking with my colleague Suleiman Zare, Country Director of Planet Guarantee Burkina Faso. Thank you.
Thanks, Sebastian. Your organization, Planet Guarantee, already markets based insurance in Burkina Faso. You are partnered with IPA to support 2 researchers, Aruna Zianga of Oklahoma State University and Zaki Wahaj of the University of Kent, for viable ways to market index-based insurance in Burkina Faso, sharing their findings with us now.
All right, thank you all for coming. So I'm presenting the result of a pilot study that I conducted with Zaki Wahaj, and my name, of course, is Aruna Nkazianga. So in this pilot study, we had two goals. Is it feasible to market crop insurance to urban migrant? And second, even if it's feasible, is there a demand for such a product? And as we'll demonstrate in the next few minutes, the answer to these two questions turn out to be yes. So why are we interested in insurance in Sub-Saharan Africa? Of course, is because farming in Sub-Saharan Africa is subject to a wide variety of shocks, and farmers tend to rely on informal risk coping mechanisms that are not usually that are both ineffective and efficient. And in context where fall insurance mechanisms were offered, it's out that the take-up has been generally low. And we want to address this question and test to what extent there could be a viable alternative for marketing formal insurance. Next slide, please. Next slide. The question is, how do we improve access to formal insurance by for small-scale farmers? So, whatever we only wanted to test here is to exploit the existing links between urban migrant and rural relatives, because it's well documented in times of need when there is negative shocks in rural areas. Okay, urban migrants tend to provide hold on to remittances. Could we design an insurance mechanism that will take advantage of this existing informal insurance mechanism already? Okay, slide. So, majority of our key finding, yes, it's feasible. So it's feasible to sell crop insurance index-based insurance through urban migrant. And second, it's turned out that the take-up is relatively low. And this indicates that selling insurance to urban migrant could be a viable option of introducing crop insurance in Sub-Saharan Africa and probably in low-income countries in general. Next slide. In Burkina, its farm activities is easily rain-fed, and is a short farming season with variable rainfall, and most farmers experience shocks to some extent, and few relatively small fraction of farmers tend to use formal risk-sharing mechanism. But on the other hand, it's well documented that that there are some strong ties between urban migrant and the rural relatives. And this pilot study we leverage on these links to introduce formal risk-sharing mechanism in the rural areas. Next. Next. Okay. The intervention itself, the product is Planet Guarantee products that Sebastian described, so I will not spend too much time talking about the product. So with one main caveat, instead of selling the product to farmers directly, we offered the product urban migrant who could subscribe and pay the premium to provide coverage for their relatives. Slide. We had around 20 villages in Burkina Faso. We surveyed households from these villages, and for each household we surveyed, we asked information on relatives in Ouagadougou, and we tracked down this relative to offer them the insurance product. Next slide, please. So, all migrants that we were able to track in Ouagadougou were invited for to participate in a focus group, and we explained to them what the product will consist of, and they are offered to subscribe to the insurance at a prevailing market price. So there's subsidy, right? That's the first key point, and the second key point is that we offered the product in two ways. We two group migrant randomly constructed. In the first group, the insurance contract stipulates that the migrant will pay the premium. The migrant who pays the premium will collect an eventual insurance payout. And in the second group, the contract stipulates that the migrants pay the premium, but an eventual payout will be paid directly to his rural relative, to his or her rural relatives. Next. So, a very rough idea about our sample. First, on the rural sample, in the rural sample, most of them experience some shock, some weather-related shock in the last years, the last year before the survey. Most of them have relatives who live in Ouagadougou, and the relative who lives in Ouagadougou tend to be permanent resident, tend to be permanent instead of seasonal migrant. So next slide. As we could suspect, if we turn to the migrants, it turned out that most of them were asked to help their rural relatives, and they are more likely to help their rural relatives when there is a rainfall shortage. And on the other hand, most of the time, not able to provide the assistance that the rural relatives are requesting. So have a set where insurance could potentially have a positive impact. On one hand, have rural relatives who face frequent shocks, and we have urban, and on the other hand, we have urban migrants are usually called upon to help and who could help. Okay. So in this context, we think that an insurance could benefit to both the urban migrant and the rural relatives. Slide. Finding. So first, as described earlier by Sebastian, we had roughly 22% take-up rate for a 2-week marketing, 2 to 3 week marketing period. So I think compared to other subsidies, and also the insurance was sold at the market price. So compared to other studies that took a longer marketing period or where the insurance product was subsidized, I think this is a decent take-up rate. And second point is turned out that the migrants were more likely to subscribe to take the product when contract stipulated that the eventual payout will be paid directly to their relatives. Okay? And I think that moving forward and thinking about how we scale up such a product, this is an important point to keep in mind. Next slide. What we learned in this study, okay, there are two points. First, it's feasible, of course, to sell insurance product to rural farmers via the urban relatives, and we showed that there is a relatively high demand for such a product. Okay, and third, the urban migrant for a various set of reasons that we can comment in the QA section, will have any payout be directly to the rural relative instead of self-collecting this payout. Next slide. So what the roadmap in the future for the future? If showed that this is effective, this is an effective way of marketing index insurance. So and to market it at and this could be marketed via migrant at the market price. So that gets the need of a subsidy. And if we don't need a subsidy for market work, it's more likely that the private sector will be interested, and the private sector getting involved will of course increase the competitiveness and make it likely that we'll see more innovation in the sector. And if that happens, we hope, we benefit both rural farmer and the migrant relatives, and that will have a big impact or a substantial impact on local economies. Next. To see how this roadmap will work is via the scale study that we have. We're planning for the next 4 years. We'll formally test the difference between offering access to rural in the rural areas versus offering it in the urban area. So we'll have for a full-scale random controlled trial with 4 arms. So in the first arm at your left, crop insurance will be sold to both in urban and in rural areas. In the second group, so the insurance will be sold only in the urban areas. In the third group, the insurance will be sold only in the rural areas. And the fourth group, the comparison group, will serve as a control or comparison group, and we'll be able to compare our rate and the effect on a number of economic outcomes across all this group. And again, the product will, as it is, it will be Planet Guarantee's standard product. Right? In this second phase, we hope to be able to answer three main research questions. So, is there any difference between marketing insurance product to rural versus urban areas? So, and we think that there is a learning process going on about insurance. So you learn either from previous experience or from neighbors, but it's possible so that people will learn from the urban migrant. We'll be able to address these questions. And next slide. In the second phase, other question will be interested in will include the effect on economic outcomes first. Just condition on providing insurance and seeing any significant take up. Are there any differences in terms of economic outcome? A key question is also this experiment can be replicated in different countries in Africa and possibly in other continents. So we that our working hypothesis for now is that in context we have strong links between migrant and relatives in their home countries, home villages. This could possibly work. So do not be limited only to Burkina or to Africa. So, and can we replicate this experiment for other insurance product? Right. So, for example, can it work for health insurance? Okay. Could we here we limited ourselves to the urban migrant, but we can possibly consider other group of migrant as well, from the African diaspora in Europe, or in the case of Burkina Faso, we have the Burkinabe diaspora in Cote d'Ivoire. Okay, and final slide. Thank you. And if you're interested in finding more about the study, we have a link to the report and to the paper on IPA website at the very bottom of this last slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Aruna, for this presentation. Your research shows a strong potential for risk-sharing scheme, rural households, and urban migrants, which I think could be tapped to market index-based insurance in Burkina Faso and maybe in other countries, potentially in other countries. This is quite interesting, and we are now opening the Q&A session. But I'm going to start quickly with a question from Boubacar. What are the tools for agricultural insurance? I think this is a question for you, since you with Aruna for this study. Please answer this question from Baka Pian. Are the tools for agricultural insurance?
Thank you, Guy. This is Zaki.
Can you speak louder?
Is it now?
Louder? Yes, that's much better.
Okay. I was wondering if the listener could expand the question to in a bit more detail what he means.
We'll take more details on his question, and I'm going to before we get back to the question, let me turn to Sebastian and ask him what are Planet Guarantee's marketing costs for product, and what subscription rate is sufficient for your company to break even?
Okay, thank you for the question. Indeed, we are in a process of market creation. So basically, it's an insurance business model where the marginal cost of first farmer insurance is of course higher than the following, fortunately. So the main cost we were confronted by today was first the product development involving international research and technology to this next. And more than the index themselves, the cost is only focused on distribution channels. A huge effort from Planet Guarantee to support the different delivery channels by training, by marketing tools, also by a continuous support during the campaign. So the opportunity offering by this new marketing approach, of course, reduces this cost without involvement of intermediaries. So in terms of figures, it's a little bit difficult to say because we used to capitalize and mutualize the different programs. First, in Burkina Faso, we are running different programs, but also at the regional level in 4 countries. But we used to calculate a break-even point with 50,000 insured per country. So let's say 200,000 for the region will allow to equilibrate this product for all actors. Did I answer?
Yes, thank you so much, Sebastian. I would like now to turn to Arthur, I think we got a question at the beginning of your presentation about around the end of presentation, and it was about your study. The comes from Romain Kenfac, and it asked, how were farmers selected in your study?
What we did in Ghana is that we used the Ghana Living Standards Survey 5+ to form the initial sample frame. And within this, we selected households who were most cultivating maize and no more than 15 acres of land. And within households, we randomly assign them to either the group with cash subsidy, the group with insurance, or control group.
Okay, Romain has a question. I think it applies to Zaki and. Do you apply any gender lenses? Or apply any gender lenses in the upcoming randomized trial? Question from Romain to Zaki and Aruna.
Okay, Zaki, and thank you for the question from Romain. So we do have an interest in looking at gender in the second round of the study. In particular, we are interested in looking at how agricultural decisions by female farmers are affected by product availability of insurance, comes effect on male farmers, and we will be able to do that in the second round because we will have both female and male farmers in our sample, and also be able to differentiate effects by gender within the same household. Second dimension is how male migrants versus female migrants respond to the marketing, and that's an important factor because we were told during interviews with micro network associations that the migrants have a different relation with their extended family than the male migrants. They might have a debt of obligation in providing support than the male migrants. We were not able to investigate this in further detail during the first phase because our sample was not large. But we hope to be able to explore that during the second phase as well and see whether the behavior of female migrants is different compared to that of male migrants when we market insurance to them. So it's there, but I can come back to expand on that if necessary.
If you allow me, I can add something about this question. Sebastian from Untitled.
Go on.
Yeah, thank you very much. The gender approach is a very important question to us also, and experience shows that it's more the value chain you will insure, which makes the difference more than the methodology of marketing or subscription. And of course, if the results than women are more, receptive to innovation and especially financial innovation, we can find out into the percentage of women in the portfolio. But on that, if you go in rice programs or SAMI programs, definitely you will have more women than if you go to a cotton or maize program. So it was my contribution to say the vision has a huge importance in the gender representation.
So, Sébastien, there's a question posée par Soar Adou qui demande comment s'applique la tarification pour l'assurance agricole au taux d'usure en vigueur dans la zone UEMOA. Je pense que c'est une question qui est pratique et Sébastien pourrait y répondre et éventuellement si Arthur et Estelle ont des additifs, ils pourraient rappeler aux commentaires ou aux réponses de Sébastien.
Du coup, je pense que je peux me permettre de répondre en français. Ok, merci beaucoup pour cette petite parenthèse de français. Au cours du jour, je pense que vous faites référence au crédit, à l'activité de crédit. Et pour préciser, nous parlons ici d'un programme qui est déconnecté du crédit. Donc, sur les taux d'assurance ne se sont pas intégrés à des taux de crédit. Ce qui, par contre, aurait pu poser problème au regard des taux assez importants de ces primes d'assurance au niveau de risque élevé. Donc, comment nous faisons? C'est qu'en fait, aujourd'hui, la souscription par des institutions de microfinance se fait systématiquement de façon séparée, d'un côté le contrat de crédit, de l'autre le contrat d'assurance. Et nous n'avons pas encore de situation où le contrat d'assurance est une obligation faite à l'emprunteur, ce qui obligerait bien sûr à l'intégrer dans le TEJ. Donc aujourd'hui, cette question n'est pas effectivement encore réglée, même si elle se pose et est très pertinente. Merci beaucoup.
Arthur, ajouter quelque chose à la réponse ou sinon, il y a qui souhaite intervenir?
On n'a rien à ajouter là-dessus. Je pense que Sébastien est beaucoup plus expert que nous en la matière.
Merci Arthur. Avant de poser de Boubacar, nous allons nous tourner rapidement vers Hugues qui souhaite intervenir sur réseau.
Yes. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes. To introduce, Hugues is the senior financial advisor with Finance Work for Africa, and insurance is part of his area of expertise, and is joining us from Johannesburg.
Are you hearing me? Yes, thank you, Guy. Yes, my name is Emile, so I am a financial sector advisor within the Secretary of Making Finance Work for Africa. So I lead our work on agricultural finance and insurance is of great interest to us.
We barely hear you. Can you speak louder?
I'm trying to still be loud here. Later. Okay. Yes. First, I had one question related to the presentation made by Planet Guarantee and Sebastian. I just want to know, this product seems to have a lot of potential for uptake, and we also include the diaspora among the target subscribers. So how long it will take to Planet Guarantee to go from pilot stage where they are now to a full-scale distribution of this product? That's one question that I want. If I can have clarification before working on that idea of the work.
Okay, I think Sebastian, before you answer the question, I think we're going to no, you answer the question before Hugues speaks about his network, maybe around the end of the Q&A session. So.
Thank you very much, Hugues, for your question. And yes, the time to go out of the pilot and to involve the diaspora is not only on our side. I actually mentioned the role of government and states to support this, and here I have to say we have a regulation point in order to make subscription directly from international diaspora, because perhaps as you know, in the CIMA area, the regulation asks to subscribe into the country of the risk. So today, to subscribe a crop insurance policy in Burkina, you have to be in Burkina. So some solutions and some discussion, of course, are ongoing with regulators, but also with technology. And technology can answer this point, basically through the fund transfers or other mobile money operations. That's what we are currently working on to enlarge the list of eligible people. Thank you.
you, Sebastian. We have two questions from Boubacar Tibiano. So his first one is the first one. What are the tools for agricultural insurance? I think there's no details on this question, but I believe Zaki can give it a try. And the second question is, do you think that Hearst exponent is appropriate in book context to analyze risk in agricultural domain? I think this is a technical question, and I think it's for Aruna and Zaki.
Okay, so I will tackle the first question, and maybe Harun can take a shot at the second one. So I interpret the question in my own way, and I would say that the challenge in providing agricultural insurance is that of moral hazard, and by that we mean is that as you try to provide insurance, there's the issue of how much effort a farmer is going to put in, how much investment he or she is going to put in, and that of course is a big concern for insurance providers. And a second issue is that of state verification. So what academics call state verification, by which we mean whether the insurer can verify easily when an adverse shock has happened, when the farmer has experienced some damage. And the way that these two concerns are dealt with differs according to the nature of the insurance product. So here, what we are dealing with is rainfall index insurance. So that's the type of insurance product which is being provided by Planet Guarantee. And the reason why this type of insurance is quite attractive from the point of view of the insurance provider is that it deals with the issue of hazard and state verification quite in quite a straightforward manner. Because the insurance payouts are tied to the duration of rainfall, it depends on how much rainfall has occurred. It's not dependent on how much effort the farmer put in or how much investments he or she has made. So there isn't a concern that the farmer will change behavior when insurance becomes available, in a negative way, because the entry out is just depends on the measurement of rainfall, and also makes certification quite straightforward. There are no visits required to the farmer's plots. So the insurance payout is determined by satellite-based measurements of rainfall, and so it's because of the factors that rainfall index insurance is very attractive for this purpose. But it is other concerns such as how correlated is the farmer's own experience of crop damage and low output to the measurement of rainfall, and that correlation can be high or low depending on the technology which is being used for rainfall measurement, and that is the technology which is being developed and improved on progressively, and so these are, I would say, the main concerns and the main developments which have been taking place in relation to the kind of insurance that we're talking about today. Of course, it's different when you talk about crop insurance, when different technologies are being made available, and there are innovations being made there as well. But in this, I think what we're dealing with primarily is rainfall index insurance.
Thank you, Zaki. We have a quick message for Jean Bazier. Monsieur Bazier, nous avons enregistré votre requête et nous vous transférerons toute notation et nous prendrons aussi soin de traduire les leçons saillantes un peu de ce webinaire pour vous et toutes ces informations seront également postées sur notre website. Now we're moving to Mr. Giovanni Munoz. We have a couple of minutes left. Mr. Giovanni asked, would you mind expanding in main reasons according to your experience? And I guess it's for Stian. For the low level of uptake of crop insurance. So what the main reason, the low level of uptake of insurance by farmers? Is it lack of resources, lack of awareness? What would you add? So I think Sebastian can take a stab at this question, and maybe from a theoretical standpoint, Aruna can also add from his study.
Thank you for this question about the penetration, in fact, of insurance. First, we have to go back on the global penetration of insurance in Tima or even in Burkina Faso, where I guess less than 3% of the population has today insurance policy. So this framework, the agricultural insurance, concerning rural area and perhaps more vulnerable people, we can understand the penetration is not totally positive today. And the reason, of course, it's final education. The lack of product makes insurance very far from farmers, so they don't really know the product, but they also don't really trust the product. More made for citizens and perhaps too expensive, as you say, for their level of revenue. So we have a very good improvement years after years, doubling, let's say, the number of insurers. Even if we need to have a scale-up strategy to go faster. And what we are doing today, starting with this kind of pilot, but also the scaling up program with microfinance institutions, banks, investment funds, all involved to increase this penetration. So it's the beginning of this history of crop insurance and index-based insurance for rural area. But I'm sure the insurance run, the whole the penetration will increase faster and faster in coming years.
Aruna, do you have something to add?
Yes, sure. I'm happy to join. So first, selling insurance is difficult in general, right? It's not farmer in Africa. It's farmer everywhere. It's all type of insurance, right? If there is no law requiring that people have insurance, for example, for a car, then take up will in general be low, because there is the delay between when you spend on insurance and when you get the potential benefit of insurance, and plus the uncertainty. So that's general for not just for farmers in Africa, but for everybody. And then on top of that, for crop insurance, there is the cash flow issue. When farmers need to buy the insurance, do they have the cash? So that could be one potential constraint. And second, there is the business risk that Zaki was talking about. Is especially for index insurance. How is the farm output quoted with rainfall measure? That just if it is highly correlated, then the farmer is more likely to insure. But if it's not, then take up might not be as high as we expect. And of course, the general knowledge and trust in the product, right? Asking farmer to hand their money upfront to people at the beginning they don't know, and to trust that when a bad weather shock, that person will come back and compensate them. So depending on the previous dealing with the government or with the authorities, they might be reluctant to subscribe. So, but as Sebastian said, these are issues that that are being solved over time, that are being overcome over time. But of course, with times and experiments such as the one we are running could potentially help.
Two small elements, if you allow me.
I could go back because before that question, there was a question about exponential risk or exponent risk model, something like that.
Your first exponent.
Yeah, first exponent.
Yeah.
Because Guy asked that answer the question. Since I have the mic, I'll and the short question is that, well, the short answer is that I don't know. It's hard to say that a particular risk model, a particular economic model will work in that text without testing it. Right? So I remember who asked the question, but my recommendation will be that if you are interested in this type of model, to collect the necessary data that you will need to estimate the model, and then test it against alternative model, and see if that particular model you have in mind outperforms the other model, and there is no it's no guarantee that there is no other model where that still to be discovered, that still needs that will outperform the model that you are choosing today. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that's what I will say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Before we turn to Hugues, I think Sebastian wanted to add something.
Yes, concerning the difficulty for farmers to enter insurance, and colleagues were referring to the risk. It's a clear situation and also a huge debate. But I would say from my side, our experience is that clients are more focusing on claims ratio. The problem on insurance concerns the capacity of insurance company to provide claims in a quick way and significant level. So the huge work we have on this project allow, as I mentioned, to reach a claim ratio never seen in kind of risk and country. So I guess it's a quite promising element to increase penetration. Also to mention incentive. You know, insurance is subsidized all over the world. In Burkina, we have a tax of 13% on product. So it's also something we are working with. And at the end, about the model and the fact that the risk is quite correlated. If you have claims, all the area is needed. So the system is secure reinsurance. And just mention the reinsurance, it's something, this kind of product, in order to capitalize with other parts of the world. So a local insurance company is not able to mitigate at international level. The insurance provides its security and the capacity to provide huge payouts when they appear. Thank you.
Sebastian, we are going now to turn to Hugues. I think, Hugues, you have a question, and would you also please let us know what is making firms World Africa doing to the penetration rate of insurance in Africa?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. It's very open question and open-ended question. No, I think we focus on this idea. We are actually, that's the objective of the idea. We have to an agricultural insurance network work. This webinar can really serve as a great opportunity to flag the idea to all the parties. I would like to thank them first.
We can barely hear you.
Okay, yeah. I think
yes, better now.
I'm sitting very far. That's maybe the connection, and I'm trying to bring the microphone next to my mouth as much as possible. Yes. So let me thank the presenters of all the presenters for these insight recommendations. Also, all participants. The question raised regarding the role of making finance and promoting this agricultural insurance is ended. But I think the idea that we are having of launching an agricultural insurance network really contributes about contributing to this very objective. What we are trying to do is that we want to leverage this webinar and also the participants that are here. I've gone through the participant list, the number of institutions here. There are some of them are market participant, private sector. We have a researcher. We have also a few policymaker. We have people from the area, and all of them have that objective. They're working on the agricultural insurance, and we thought it would be an excellent idea of having this kind of exchange on a random basis, that we can build a kind of network to foster regular knowledge exchange, communication of experience and best practices in policy, market development, encourage joint research projects, and while raising the visibility on investment opportunity. The network will be a sort of community of practice, and the plan to rely on the participants to this webinar to develop idea going forward. So we just wanted to flag the idea here, and then we'll revert back to all the participants a general concept note, which will be a very document for input from all the participants. So this is a great opportunity, and I thank you to join when we visit the document that we can work together to operationalize this idea. We can also use tools like an online collaborative platform that we have, which is really a powerful tool to connect people, so that they don't need even to come to making finance immediately, but they can really connect between themselves and work, and then can together, I think, can advance this agricultural insurance in Africa. So that's that I want to make again.
Thank you for floating out around this idea of agricultural insurance network. To the audience, please don't forget to fill out the survey, to complete the survey and provide your feedback. After this moment, I would like to thank the panelists, Alan Kazyanga of Oklahoma State University, Wahaj of the University of Kent, their study, research, and congratulate also them for their achievement. Thank you also to Estelle Platz and Arthur Sago-Dubourou of Innovation for Poverty Action. Thank you to Sebastian Weber of Planet Guarantee for providing the support to researchers to undertake studies. Thank everyone for today's webinar on enhancing access to index-based weather insurance, marketing approach in Burkina Faso. And the slides will be available on Making Finance Work for Africa and IPA's website. If you have any questions, please contact Making Finance Work for Africa via email at secretariat at fw4a.org. Again, a reminder, please don't forget to fill out the survey once the webinar ends. You'll receive a follow-up email with 24 to 48 hours with a link to a recording of this webinar. Finally, on behalf of Making Work for Africa, IPA, Planet Guarantee, Oklahoma State University, and the University of Kent, thank you all for joining us